Hello, today we're going to be looking at a product called IDERA SQL Query Tuner. This product is added to the SQL Diagnostic Manager product as part of the Pro Bundle. We call it the SQL Diagnostic Manager Pro Bundle, which also includes another tool called SQL Workload Analysis. But today we're going to be focusing on just the query tuning aspect of this product. And SQL Query Tuner, it's not really a tool that is doing a lot around monitoring per se. It is a tool that you bring up on your console or on your workstation, and you profile activity, and then you can tune queries and do some load testing and things like that. So what we're going to do first is just open up the console like you see on the screen. One of the nice things about this tool from a developer perspective is I can go over here to the left-hand side and extract out objects to script form and then execute them on a completely different instance using the little execute button here in the upper right hand corner, and I can create those objects on a completely different SQL instance if I want to. So that's one of the nice things, and that's just the database on that instance, but you could even go down to maybe a store procedure, for example, and extract that as well. So there are some definite developer type features in this tool above just monitoring and query tuning in general. But today we're going to focus primarily on the query tuning aspect, and what we're going to do first is start profiling activity on a SQL instance. So on the left hand side here, I select my instance, right click, and select Profile As, and select the data source connection to connect to that instance. By the way, even though it says the word profile, it is not doing a profile trace. It is actually doing sampling of dynamic management views to pull in this information. And so when I select to start profiling, it's not going to miss a beat. It's going to watch what's going on with queries executing against that instance. And we'll just leave this alone for the time being. I'm going to let it continue capturing data. I've already captured some data already on a previous profile, so I'll just bring that up over here and you can see what it looks like. First, you have the overall workload for the time period that I ran the profile. That profile, you can just keep it running over and over for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but it will hold up to 1 hour of data before it starts overriding the previous activity. And there is no heavy disk requirements associated with this tool. It basically is storing the information in some files as well. So this is one of the profile sessions that I ran, and I stopped the profile session, but now maybe I go down to the bottom and I look for some of my queries that might be considered high impact. The overview tab will show me those queries that were gathered during that profile session. The events shows some of the wait activity or workload happening during that profile session, and the sessions tab will also display the sessions that were interacting with the instance during that profile activity. You can also drill into it a little bit more in depth by going to the SQL tab, which will give you more statistics around the SQL statements that we're executing, or the events with more details around the wait types, or the session details with more statistical information around those sessions. And there is also the procedures tab, which shows stored procedures that were called or executed during that profile session, which of course you could go in and tune them from here as well. But we'll go back to the overview screen. Select a statement, right click, and we can either look at the execution plan around that statement to see the cost associated with every step of the operation, or we can right click and select to tune that query. And if we hit the tune option, then it will bring up another tab. One of the things it will do is analyze that query and show you if there are any index recommendations. Down here at the bottom, you'll see any indexes that are suggested to be created at the top. Any indexes that were used by Database Optimizer, any indexes that could potentially be used by Database Optimizer, and then any indexes that have no effect on this statement. Also notable to mention is we have this little visual on how the query executed, and I can select various objects from the path of how it displayed the data, and notice that it highlights in the statement on the left hand side where that object resides in the statement to help highlight where you need to focus your attention if applicable to you. There's also some additional tabs for table statistics, column histogram statistics, or column statistics and histograms, and plan guides as well. Also, on the overview section, we can select to perform detailed analysis of that query to get various recommendations for how to rewrite the query. As a matter of fact, after it rewrites the query and we get a cost assessment, we can also have it execute the query and give us some of the statistics on how it actually improved the query or didn't improve the query. It just depends on how it rewrote that query. So down at the very bottom, we see the original query at the very top of the list. Then below that, it has all the different ways that it rewrote that query. And some of the rewrites also include adding indexes as well. So some of it is query hints maybe, some of it's adding indexes, but anyway, it has different ways to rewrite the query or rewrite the configuration for that matter to improve that query performance. And notice in this case, it was 110 different ways that it tried to improve that original query. If you see highlights in green, it means that it improved by greater than 10% for that column against the original execution. And if you see blue, obviously that falls into plus or minus 10%, so it's still in that area of same performance. And then red means it degraded greater than 10%. So up here at the very top, I see this hash join query. The cost improved significantly from the original here at the top. So we see the cost improved significantly, the elapsed time improved, the physical reads improved, the logical reads decreased and improved as well, and the CPU time decreased. So this might be the one that we need to look at and see what we need to do to rewrite that statement. So I'm going to right-click, compare that rewritten query to the original, and this is what we see. Both the original on the left and the rewritten on the right, and as it goes down to the bottom of the rewritten query, we see the option hash join there, and that little bit of a modification seemed to improve the performance considerably. So, that's great to know. I might want to go back, and look at some of the other rewrites as well, but for now, this looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and copy it out. And then what we might do is go up to the top, and again, this is something that might help from a developer team perspective, but you can click this load test feature, paste in that rewritten query, and you don't even have to do query tuning to do this. If you have your own query that you want to test, go ahead and start the profile session, come in here, paste your own query into this load test, have it simulate a certain number of user sessions, executing for a certain amount of time in hours and minutes or a certain number of executions with either fixed time delay between each iteration of execution or a random time interval delay between each iteration of execution. And then you just hit the execute at the bottom and it's going to run its test and run for this period of time, and you can go in again and stop that profile session after the load test is completed and then analyze what the overall utilization or what the workload looked like around that particular statement. And I'll show you how to do that here in just a second. Before I do that, I might go over here to the SQL button and just paste in the query to run it one time. I don't want it to run as a load test. I just want it perhaps to just run one time like this, and maybe I'll go back and get one of the other rewritten statements and come back here and paste it in as well. And then execute that while it's profiling again, and then maybe run it again with another rewritten statement. And then I can always go back here to the profiling activity. Remember, we kicked this off toward the beginning of this video, and there we see what's been going on with the overall workload. And what's nice is, with the stuff that I'm focusing on today, with that one statement, I can go up here to the top and select a filter by application and focus purely on that application, IDERA SQL Query Tuner, because we are even profiling activity coming from this application as well. So when I select that and refresh, it shows me that one iteration of execution and the performance. And again, if I wanted to, I could have executed those other rewritten statements and done a comparative analysis of multiple executions of multiple rewritten queries to do the side-by-side comparison. And then when I'm ready to go back to look at the overall workload, I just go back up here, see with the filter by option, I have all these different options, but I'll just change it back to no filter. And now we have all of the activity listed here again, which when I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and hit the stop profiling. Now I do have one thing to mention about this tool. when you get started using it, I think sometimes people have the expectation that it's going to go in and just start tuning everything and have a lot of onboard built-in intelligence. There are some little caveats to using this product, and that is if you're tuning a statement that creates temporary tables, for example, then if those tables are not there, it will validate the objects exist. And if the objects do not exist, then it's going to throw a red flag and say, hey, I don't see these objects. And so you will need to create the objects perhaps, to complete the tuning exercise. Also, like with anything that would require certain parameters, maybe the store procedure or a statement had certain parameters that were passed, and those are missing now. They weren't passed, you're not seeing those actual parameters as part of it. Well, then it'll prompt you and ask you to submit those parameters for it to complete its analysis. So there can be a little bit of side investigation to present that type of data when you're doing the query tuning. What I did with my analysis today was with just basically a select statement in my environment. But I just thought I would put that little quick note or asterisk based on how to use the product, and just so you consider that when you start working with the tool. If you want to use this product, reach out to us and we'll get you the download links. Reach out to your account manager. They will help you with getting the software so that you just install it on your workstation or a server or both, wherever you want to install it, and you can hit the ground running with using the tool because it comes with a trial license already embedded in it as well. Hopefully this video has been very instructive or instructional and useful to you, and look forward to other videos coming in the near future that will help you with understanding other IDERA features as well. Thank you and have a great day.